Hello there, very good evening and welcome to your Primetime News Bulletin. I'm Shane Silva.
And I'm Kumarini Rajakaruna. As always, let's start off with a look at the stories making headlines tonight.
Over 300 acres on the Umbulua mountain in Gampala go up in flames. Multi-day and one-day fishermen in Chilau prepare to head back to sea. The International Monetary Fund says conditions were laid down in the standby agreement. And a protest in Hambantota demanding a solution to wild elephant attacks.
For the stories in detail now. Tamil National Alliance leader, parliamentarian R. Sambandhan met President Mahinda Rajapaksa at Temple Trees last evening.
The President's media unit stated that Minister Nima Siripala de Silva and Secretary to the President Lalit Veeratunga were also present at the meeting. We made inquiries regarding this meeting from R. Sambandhan. The TNA parliamentarian stated that he attended the meeting following an invitation from the President.
The discussion centered around the talks that have taken place between the government and the Tamil National Alliance and the proposed Parliamentary Select Committee. We have talked to the government for the past 1 year, but unfortunately there has not been any measure of consensus in regard to any matter. Our understanding with the government is that there must be a measure of consensus at least on some issue at the bilateral talks, and the agreement is that such consensus will be taken before the Parliamentary Select Committee. In those circumstances, it was premature to ask us for the names to the Parliamentary Select Committee without such a consensus being reached at the bilateral talks. The position was explained to the President. He listened to me, and we shall await government's further action in regard to the matter. But we are prepared to engage in talks, and it's our conviction that there can be a resolution of the conflict only through dialogue.
Meanwhile, popular Indian singer Sonu Nigam, who is in Sri Lanka for a concert, called on President Mahinda Rajapaksa yesterday. Nigam's family members were also present at the meeting.
On to a story now that we touched on a few minutes back. Power disruptions have been reported from several parts of the island. Now, according to the Ministry of Power and Energy, this is due to the breakdown of the main transmission line, which runs from Polpitiya to Habarana. Now, the ministry noted that this transmission line feeds the Kalanithissa power station. At present, sub-power stations in Madampe, Pannala, Kiribatkumura and Anuradhapura have come to a standstill. As a result, power disruptions have been reported from Putlam, Chilau, Kandy, Anuradhapura and Trincomalee. The Ministry of Power and Energy noted that 10 teams have been deployed to the site where the transmission line runs through the Habarana Reserve to restore power.
Still in local news, multi-day and one-day fishermen in the Chilau area have decided to commence their fishing activities. The fishermen stayed away from the sea for nearly 10 days in protest over the fuel price hike.
A special discussion was held today at the Bishop's house in Chilau to resolve the issue. The discussion was held with the participation of Bishop of Chilau, the Most Reverend Valence Mendes, government officials and representatives of the fisher community. The fishermen decided to resume fishing activities following an assurance that was given by the Northwestern Province Fisheries Minister to provide 30 litres of diesel at 81 rupees and 10 cents for 6 days until the subsidy is paid in an organised manner.
The Northwestern Provincial Council, together with the Divisional Secretariat, has decided to provide a temporary subsidy for 6 days until it is given by the central government. We have decided to provide 30 litres of kerosene with a concession of 25 rupees per litre to every fisherman.
ඉන්ධන ලීටර් 30 ගණනේ කියන්නේ භූමි තෙල් ලීටර් 30 ගණනේ 1 ලීටරයකට රුපියල් 25ක ආධාරයක් ලබා දෙන්න පළාත් අමාත්‍යවරයාගේ මැදිහත් වීම තුල.
All fisheries leaders agreed to engage in the trade following the intervention of the Provincial Fisheries Minister, where fishermen could obtain diesel at 81 rupees and 10 cents from any filling station for a short period.
භූමි තෙල් අපිට මෙතන ඉඳලා දීවර කර්මාන්තයේ කිරීමට අපි දීවර නායකින් සේරම එකඟ වුණා.
Earlier, the fishermen in Chilau stayed away from going out to sea today as well.
It is being said that a subsidy will be given, which means fuel prices will not be reduced. They need to grant the subsidy in an organised manner across the country. Yesterday, when we contacted the Grama Seva officer, he said that it will be given within 3 days' time. However, in Negombo, they say it will be given within 6 days. We urge them to provide the subsidy in an equal manner to everyone. According to the nature of our job, we will lose 1 day's work if we have to go there and obtain the subsidy every 3 days. Therefore, we would like to receive it once every 6 months.
However, trading at the Chilau fish market had not returned to normal today as well. There were only a few functioning stalls at the market. I sell fish that is brought from other areas. Fishermen in Chilau have not set out to sea. Moreover, multi-day fishermen in the Negombo area continue to stay away from fishing activities.
A subsidy of 12 rupees is given, and this is not sufficient. An average vessel will consume fuel amounting to 16,000 rupees. Therefore, a subsidy of 12 rupees for 2,500 litres is not enough at all.
According to our correspondent, single-day fishermen, however, engaged in fishing activities on a small scale.
It will be good if they continue to provide the subsidy without stopping it halfway. We are setting out to sea as we don't have anything to eat. This is not because the coupon mechanism is being introduced.
Small-scale fishermen in Hambantota did not engage in any fishing activities today and staged a demonstration. This demonstration that was held opposite the Hambantota bus stand was organized by the All-Island Public Fisheries Federation. However, speaking at a media briefing held in Colombo yesterday, Minister of Fisheries and Aquatic Resource Development, Dr. Rajitha Senaratne, said that the fuel subsidy is already being provided. The minister also noted that coupons to obtain the fuel subsidy will be issued to fishermen from next week.
Meanwhile, speaking at a media briefing in Colombo today, United National Party parliamentarian Dr. Harsha De Silva says that he is ready to participate in a debate with Minister Ranjit Siambalapitiya.
අපි පෙරේදා ආණ්ඩුවේ ජනාධිපතිවරයා හෝ
On Monday, we challenged the President or any important minister of the present regime that the cuts in subsidies are taking place in line with an agreement reached with the International Monetary Fund. The increase in fuel and electricity prices took place in line with this arrangement. We are ready to prove this at any given time. If the government is dispatching Minister Ranjit Siambalapitiya for a debate, I am ready as a new member of parliament to participate in it.
මන්ත්‍රී කෙනෙක් වුණත් අපි ආණ්ඩුවේ ඉන්න ජ්‍යෙෂ්ඨතම ඡන්දියව විවාදයට ගන්න ඒ අභියෝගය බාර ගන්න සූදානම්.
Now, when we spoke to the Minister of Telecommunication Information Technology, Ranjit Siambalapitiya, regarding this challenge, he said that he too is ready to participate in a debate.
I think it is apt for us to speak about this issue in public. Hence, I am ready to attend the debate. The people in this country are highly knowledgeable. It is important for us to clear this issue before the public through a debate. Hence, I am ready to come before the public and engage in a live debate with parliamentarian Dr. Harsha De Silva.
සජීව මේ පැහැදිලි කිරීම ගරු හර්ෂ මන්ත්‍රීතුමා සමග කරන්න.
Dr. Koshimathai, the resident representative of the International Monetary Fund in Sri Lanka, says that according to the IMF standby arrangement, of which 800 million is yet to be disbursed, the government has to ensure the combined losses of the CPC and CEB are brought down to zero. He made the statement in an interview with Biz First in Focus.
The opposition claims that the government has increased fuel and electricity tariffs based on an agreement with the IMF in order to obtain the remaining $800 million tranche of the standby facility. IMF resident representative Dr. Koshimathai responded to these claims.
Did you all in any way tell the government to cut down subsidies on fuel?
No. What we said is that you'll see that in our program with the government, there's a condition that the CPC and the CEB should aim towards improving their balances. And in fact, originally there was a condition that they should
to 0%.
that it should come down to zero, that they should break even last year. Now that didn't happen because of the rise in oil prices, because of the poor raisins.
And then you all wanted the government to cut down subsidies.
What I'm trying to say is that in order to support an improvement in the balances at the state enterprises, clearly when the oil prices go up a lot, there has to be some kind of pass-through. That's the hard logic of the market, that there has to be some kind of pass-through, and you can't expect the government to be bearing that kind of fiscal cost. Because otherwise, just think of the counterfactual. If they continued allowing the CPC to run these huge losses, eventually they would have to step in and subsidize the CPC or the CEB. And when that happens, where do they get the money from? They don't have a tree to print money on. They would end up causing inflation if they tried to print money. They would end up raising interest rates in the market if they tried to issue so many T-bills to finance the borrowing in order to make this up. The point is that the government doesn't have any alternative, and that's why they felt the need to do this more cost-reflective pricing on the fuel.
Doctor, let's say, hypothetically, the government does not cut down costs on oil. They do not remove the subsidies on oil. They continue to put a peg on the exchange rate as well. What will happen to the $800 million tranche that the IMF has promised according to the standby agreement? Will you all continue giving that to the government?
Well, I think that's why the government is being flexible, and we're also trying to be flexible. What I said earlier is that we've been encouraged by the change in policies that we've seen announced. And now what we're looking for is a track record of continued flexibility of those policies. Now, if indeed when we don't see that flexibility happening, well, then it's difficult for us to proceed. But if we see that flexibility, then by all means we can try to proceed. Right now, we're still in the phase of discussing the implications of all these measures for the economy and then for the program.
You can watch the full interview this Sunday after the 9 p.m. primetime news on BizBurst in Focus.
On to a story that made the headlines tonight. Now, the fire which erupted in the Ambuluwawa mountain in Gampala has been contained. The fire had destroyed more than 300 acres of forest land. News First took to the skies today to report on the fire.
The time now is exactly 20 minutes past 10 o'clock in the morning. We are currently 3,000 feet above sea level. We can see how the biodiversity of a large area in the eastern slopes of the Ambuluwawa mountain have been destroyed. We can also see how the fire that erupted on the eastern slopes were doused. However, the fire is continuing in the western slopes of the mountain. It is evident from the air that the fire is spreading slowly over a large area.
When News First reached the Ambuluwawa mountain, we noticed the tireless efforts that were being made to contain the fire in the western slopes of the mountain. Meanwhile, the Air Force 2 joined the operation to contain the fire with the use of a Bell 212 helicopter. The fire had erupted at the Ambuluwawa mountain at around 3:30 last evening and began spreading rapidly, assisted by the wind. Security forces, together with the area residents, took steps to stop the fire from spreading to the upper area of the biodiverse Ambuluwawa reserve. However, the fire caused serious damage to the eastern and western slopes of the mountain.